I took a TV production class in college and had I failed the course because none of my actors for my show showed up. Here he goes. Here's entering the waiting room. And he's connecting on audio. I apologize. Jessica's apologizing, but are we ready to go?
We can just go on and do the walk across Texas if she can do that one.
We're about to be live, guys.
Jane, time to come back on.
I'm on.
Okay, I don't see your picture. Now you're on.
Yep.
Hello, Texans. We invite you to join the Texas affiliates of the National Alliance on Mental Illness for our National Day of Hope.
On World Mental Health Day, October 10th, NAMI affiliates from across Texas are celebrating a National Day of Hope through NAMI Walks events.
This year, we're adapting our mental health walks to the virtual world and calling them NAMI Walks Your Way.
As always, NAMI Walks Across Texas spreads mental health awareness, provides a positive platform for powerful conversations, and raises funds for mental health programming in our communities.
We hope you join us as an ally on World Mental Health Day. The need for resources and support have never been greater.
NAMI Walks Your Way is exactly how it sounds.
We want Texans to do NAMI Walks their way.
Whether it's going out for a walk on October 10th or doing something else.
Like going for a ride with your neighbors, enjoying some ball play, frisbees, juggling, walking your dog, or having a nice walk with your neighbors. Anything to spread awareness about mental health.
We encourage participants to share pictures, videos, and their stories on social media using the hashtag of the NAMI Walk that you join. Let your community and the entire state of Texas know that you are doing NAMI Walks your way.
All Texans are invited to a National Day of Hope, October 10th. Please participate and donate if you can. To find a virtual NAMI Walks, visit namiwalks.org.
Welcome, everyone. I am Jane Malin. I'm the president of the board of NAMI Greater Houston. Welcome to our candidates tonight and to our attendees, our members and friends who are here to listen to what you have to say about mental health policy and legislation. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. It's a grassroots volunteer organization. We provide free peer-led support groups and education courses, a warm line with resources and referrals, and public policy and advocacy. And our Public Policy and Advocacy Committee has organized this with great thanks to Brenda LeVar, who's done a lot of work on this set of forums. NAMI Houston covers Harris, Fort Bend, and Montgomery counties. In these tough times, it's vital for our members and friends to understand your positions on mental health issues so that we can vote for mental health. Our moderator tonight is Dr. Neil Sarahan, who's the Executive Director of NAMI Greater Houston. He's a native Houstonian with a distinguished background and career in education for growth persons with neurological differences. Take it away, Neil.
Thank you, friends. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to do a very, very quick introduction. Alert everybody to the 3 priorities in the strategic plan for the National Alliance on Mental Illness. One is that people get help early. Early identification makes a big difference. The second is that people get care, access to care. And the third is that we take more steps to get people diverted from the criminal justice system. So these are the priorities that we'd like to be asking the congressional candidates this evening. How can you help us? What's your position on these 3 vital issues? And we wanted to introduce first by format, we're going to ask you to give 2 minutes of response on your stance on mental health, mental wellness. Then I have a few questions that I'd like to pursue with you. And we're going to start with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, who I understand is just off the floor of the Congress on voting. I hope you are voting on something that moved the CARES Act or the something along, but we will turn it over for 2 minutes of opening statements to Sheila Jackson Lee, and we're thankful very much. And
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so very much. Can you hear me?
I can.
All right.
Working
Thank
well.
You so very
Thank
much.
you.
That horn is another vote, but let me say how excited I am to be here with NAMI and to thank you for your passion and leadership on issues that really, they're more than part of my legislative portfolio. They're really part of my heart. From the time I came to the United States Congress, I was an advocate for parity in healthcare. Many of you know mental health parity had not occurred really some years ago. And so I wanted to make sure that I was at the forefront and actually worked with, many of you know, then the Congressman Kennedy, who was from Rhode Island. We worked very hard on mental health parity. And since that time, as a member of the United States Congress, by the way, a member of the Judiciary Committee, member of the Budget Committee, Homeland Security, all of the work that I've done, I weave mental health into it, even to the point of dealing with the unequal treatment of special needs children that was happening in our state of Texas by giving unfair, how should I say it, unfair payments, if you will, or chastising districts like HISD that had a higher number of special needs children when it came to public funding. But I've done work, for example, in creating a post-traumatic stress disorder center in the midst of the Iraq and Afghan war off of the Veterans Hospital grounds, meeting a satellite center, and provided $1 million to create a satellite center for veterans to go for PTSD. In addition, I have supported supported mental health legislation that, for example, dealing with the coronavirus, the Mental Health and Addiction Assistance Act of 2020, which would make competitive grants to eligible entities to establish a coronavirus mental health and addiction assistance network that provides programs for assisting individuals in managing mental health and substance use disorders during COVID-19. And then pursuing Equity in Mental Health Act, which provides grants to eligible entities for the purpose of establishing what I heard, interprofessional healthcare teams that provide behavioral health assistance. Then we supported and co-sponsored the Greater Mental Health Access Act, which would establish special enrollment period for family members of an individual who has died by suicide and to create expanded services for that family. Most recently, we're in the midst now of fighting for Heroes 2. It's changed its names from CARES to Heroes. That's what we're
Yes.
voting on now. I
That
was on
was
the
my-
floor fighting for this legislation specifically that would include additional help for COVID-19 medical care, which would include those needing mental health assistance. And of course, small businesses, contact tracing, testing, PPEs, school monies. And I'm really big on mental health services through our nursing structure to be in our schools. Just recently, I collaborated with the city of Houston and tried to continue to get the county to continue its work. I see that when we announced our hotline, the county re-upped their announcement about their hotline, but the city did not have one. And so I initiated the effort with the city health department and the mayor and indicated how they could work out a hotline, a mental health hotline for not only school children, parents, and those affiliated with the schools, but also with our citizens of Houston. And so I'm very proud of the fact that on Tuesday, we announced the City of Houston hotline with CARES dollars, which that is what it was called, from 1 to 11 p.m. For calls to come in for people who are experiencing stress and experiencing, I even called it the pandemic PTSD, to be able to find help and to be given resources to be able to help them during this time. I'd like to just end by saying that I have never stepped away in my legislative agenda from fighting for more mental health resources. I thank you for the work you do. I am a great opponent of any stigmatizing of individuals who have a mental health issue or crisis. And I believe that we're not a whole community if we don't address the question of early intervention, behavioral matters, and of course, crisis intervention as well. And I am a big believer as well in expanding outpatient help for those needing mental health care, and as well that we should expand more beds for juveniles and others who need in-hospital care for mental health issues or health issues that they may have. Thank you for the work that you do, and I look forward to trying to answer some of your questions.
Great. Can I ask one? Can I ask one question that just we hear so much about, and that is that Texas is grossly underfunded and is actually quite distanced from one of the things that we've been hearing this week and last week on our candidate forums is acceptance by Texas of the Medicaid waiver, which has. Did you have a comment on that, or a suggestion, or?
Yeah, I was here for passing the Affordable Care Act. We worked very hard to get mental health to make sure that all insurance companies would provide coverage for mental health crisis or health issues. And we provided for the Medicaid provision, where the only thing the states had to do was accept that provision, and the first 5 years would be free monies to expand healthcare, which thereby would expand it under Medicaid and would expand access to healthcare for those families that could not provide insurance for themselves. I think the most egregious act of the Republican governors, and they've done it from the time we passed the 2010 Act, they rejected, this state rejected the Medicaid provision, which means every time we have to fight to get what we call 1195 waiver. And we need a change in administration. We need a change in administration as relates to the governor of the state of Texas, because we still have the option, if the Affordable Care Act is not eliminated by this potentially new Supreme Court, with this new Supreme Court justice, which I'm fighting with every breath in my body, to not make this a 6-3 court, which would really rule out Americans having justice in the courts. I am that animated about it. This Justice, Justice Barrett, is a person who has not rendered any indication of her commitment to social justice, to mental health care, to Roe v. Wade, and is a person who I know that if the election came to her, that she would rule in favor of Donald Trump. So she is disastrous from that perspective, and she's expected to be one of the persons in the majority to find the Affordable Care Act unconstitutional. But even in its form that we have it here in the state of Texas, where, by the way, when I debated this question on the floor of the House, we were the poster child for uninsured. We had 6 million Texans uninsured,
Right.
25% of our state. So to answer your question, it will be changing the governor, but each year we try to get an exception, and we come together as a delegation, even Republicans, because it's really hurting the state and hurting their constituents, to try to get a waiver on the
Yes,
1195.
we understand that it's part of our legislative position that that Health and Human Services may be willing to extend a one-year extension on the 1115 waiver, and we really would we'd be with you if you were trying to if you were trying to help us in terms of the voice that you have. So we thank
work
you
on that
very,
every
very
year.
much, and we will be support. Give mental health support is what we need. And we thank you, and we're gonna go to candidate
thank you.
Elizabeth Hernandez now.
Thank you so very much.
And
Take care.
Thank you, thank you,
And
thank
it's
you.
1115. I said 1195 because I have a bill that's named
Oh,
1195.
but you have so much on your desk there, and but thank you. We know you did the right thing.
Okay,
Thank you.
take care. Take care. Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right.
Nice to see you, Elizabeth.
Hi, thank you for your service.
Thank you for yours. Take care.
So I am Elizabeth Hernandez, and I am running for U.S. House of Representatives in Congressional District 8. I am running against Kevin Brady. And, you know, I'm not going to have as much things to say as Sheila Jackson because I'm obviously not in Congress yet. But mental health and addressing the mental health care needs of children and adults is very important to me. From the perspective of once I get into office, a few things that I feel that need to happen. I would definitely fight for providing more funding for counselors in schools. I think that is very important, that our children have access to counselors on a regular basis. Also expanding FMLA coverage for time off for mental health care needs. You know, it's very hard when you're working at a job and you have, you know, only 2 weeks of time off, and that's lumped in with your sick and your vacation time. You know, a lot of times employers put that as PTO. And, you know, typically if you're going to see a mental health care provider, you need to see them every week, if not, you know, every 2 weeks. So it becomes very difficult getting that time off from your employer, you know, and them, you don't want them probing why you're needing off, but it's very important that you get that consistent time with, you know, your counselors or your doctors. And so employees need protection so that they're not feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm taking off work every week for, you know, an hour and a half by the time I drive there, maybe
Right.
2 hours. And
So you'd be if you were in Congress, you'd be campaigning for or legislating toward an extension of the Family Medical Leave Act. Where would your stance be on the I'm sorry. Where would your stance be on suicide prevention programs? I know that that's something that's up in the Congress right now, is a three-digit number for emergency purposes.
Yeah, I would definitely support that. I mean, you know, and I think prevention kind of starts with regularly seeing counselors. I mean, I may be wrong, but I actually have a teenager that just turned 15, and we have hit that stage of her needing to see a counselor regularly. And it's all about her, you know, because teens are going through a tough time. You know, she's just hitting high school, and so, you know, prevention and seeing somebody regularly and being able to talk about your feelings is very, very important. You know, kids are afraid to tell their parents, you know, I'm not okay. I feel like I need to talk to somebody. But so if we as parents kind of are proactive about that, you know, it gives the children the opportunity to talk openly with a counselor about how they're feeling, and not have to, you know, confide in me as a mom, or, you know, that, hey, something's wrong. And, you know, I think it's important we have more help for our parents to understand that, and, you know, to notice the signs. So I live in the Woodlands, and the suicide rates here are very, very high. I actually recently looked them up, and just between January and May, there were 31 attempted suicides, and I believe 12 of those were in March. So our teens are hurting, and you know, the township is looking at doing things, but I don't think we're doing enough. And at the end of the day, I know, so another thing that I feel very strongly about.
So how would you use your position in Congress to impact these issues?
So one thing I was going to comment, one of the issues that we have, I think everywhere, is the lack of providers. I have a son that actually sees a psychiatrist, and at one point I was trying to get my daughter in to see a psychologist, and she saw the psychologist one time, and I couldn't get in for another month. I mean, and she was going through some big deals without, you know, sharing all her personal experience. It was unacceptable for her to wait to see a psychologist another month. So I believe that the way we have incentives for teachers, you know, student loan forgiveness, we need to do that for our therapists, our psychologists, our psychiatrists, so we can encourage those going in, you know, more people that are thinking about going into that field, you know, maybe they can't afford it. So legislation for that.
Thank you. I thank you. And if you hear me cutting you off, or okay. I apologize. I'm trying to watch and respect the time that that you all have given to us tonight, and so we thank you. We did invite Congressman Brady, who is the candidate who you are running against, and he was not able to make it this evening. But we thank you very, very much for your comments. I wanted to invite Johnny Teague in for a summary. I am watching the, if you could stay on, Elizabeth, for just a little bit longer. I'm watching the chat for some questions, which I might be able to come back to you on. Is that all right? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Teague.
Yes, sir.
Can I find you?
You may not be able to. I'm just leaving my farm feeding my cows. I couldn't get the video up, but I got the audio.
Oh, the audio is great. You set the scene for us. You're feeding your cattle.
I am.
And you're
That's
running
my mental health.
And you're running for Congress. And how are the cows' mental health doing?
Brother, I tell you what, I don't know how they're doing, but they make me feel a whole lot better.
Oh boy, that's it. Well, we are talking about our priorities for access to care.
Yes, sir.
We're talking about our priorities for earlier intervention, rather than the system that we have now, which is intervention when there's a crash, intervention when something's gone really wrong, and then the move to get people in mental health care care through other means other than law enforcement intervention.
Yes, sir.
So we're wondering if you could help us as you're running for your thoughts on any of those issues.
Brother, I appreciate so much. I appreciate your group. I'm honored to be introduced to y'all. And I'm a pastor by trade. Also, I'm a rancher and an author, and I do other things as well, but primarily a pastor. And I deal with the mental health aspects on a weekly basis, from bipolar to schizophrenia to suicide to violence. I see it in so many realms as a pastor. We have a bipolar fella that comes to the church. Sometimes he'll show up totally naked, and we work with them and we try to help them. And have a sweet lady that's suicidal that comes to the church, and we've worked desperately to try to get her help, but the cost to get her help is just exorbitant, and it's beyond what her family can afford. We deal with suicide stuff all the time. I'm constantly have calls where people are wanting to take their life, and I have to get very much involved trying to help them. And clearly, I am a pastor. I have 5 college degrees, 2 bachelor's, 2 masters, and a doctorate, but mental health is not my expertise, and always am looking for great avenues for these people that we're trying to help. And so I appreciate what you do. And again, kind of like this sweet girl who spoke earlier, I'm not a congressman at this moment. By God's grace, I will be. But so I don't know all the insides and outs, but my commitment would be to do everything I can to help move this forward. And y'all hit a very good, important thing, that there's got to be a better option than prison or jail. And I'm so thankful to see you're working to intervene to keep these people who aren't criminals. They just have a mental issue, and they just need to be treated and dealt with in the proper way. And so I'm just thankful for what you do. Definitely want to support you in every way that I can. And I'm here to learn more than anything than instruct or give an opinion. I can look at it from the macro viewpoint. We've got to do some things. We've got to help. But the micro and the legislation and the particular strategies that you have or interventions you have to move this forward, I definitely want to learn.
Well, we appreciate that. I think that's one of the things about public life is the enormous opportunity to learn if you're willing to learn. And I hear that in your voice, and I would hope then that we could send you the platform that we have, our public policy platform, which is almost like a primer on mental health assembled from the Houston community and also from the state community. And I would ask that of each of the candidates tonight, is that we would like to stay in touch with you, and we have sent you the platform, and I'm going to send you that platform again after we've spoken, along with a gift from us of a truly unique NAMI mask. So
oh, so cool. Thank you.
All right. So we thank you very much, sir. And that concludes the segment that we had for the Congress. Again, we had invited all the candidates from these 3 districts, and this is what we got. I think that one of the things that is so telling about your comments, Mr. Teague, or Pastor Teague, is that there have to be a better way than through the justice system, and that really through arrest, through chaos, and that brings us to the second segment of our talk tonight, and that is the race for district attorney in Harris County. And we have both candidates with us tonight. I see Kim Ogg has turned on her screen, and I'm going to be looking for Mary Nan Huffman, who has also joined us on the screen. And we had spoken a little bit earlier about our format here. We're going to ask each candidate to address their perspective on mental health concerns. And then I have some questions to follow up on that. But again, we are pivoting on the platform for the national office of NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness, which is the engagement of the justice system in mental health care. It's pivotal that we speak to that. And so I actually ask, Mary Nan, would you like to go first? Kim, would you like to go first?
Nissan can go first.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. So we'll put
yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Focus on the camera.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sarahan. Well, good evening, NAMI viewers, supporters, and those with interest in our mental health system and what we are collectively going to do about mental illness as a society and as a nation. As has been said before, all politics is local. And so how we utilize the resources that we have here in the Houston area and region, and what we do when mental illness intersects with criminal justice is what I'll be talking about tonight. Because about a quarter to as much as 50% of our current criminally charged population shows signs of mental illness or other mental unwellness, ranging from very serious to having had depression or something not perhaps disabling, but certainly that impacted the person. So we have every range to deal with in criminal justice. And so in a time when government has many needs and limited resources, the way that mental health has classically been handled in the justice system has been wasteful, and it's been hurtful. And really, it has not served the purpose of either criminal justice or a humane and sane way of treating mental health and mental illness. So we have worked hard in the DA's office during my administration to do several things. One, to raise awareness that mental illness is a public health concern, not a criminal justice concern. But that because there's an intersection between those with mental illness and the police, often called for public safety reasons, there needs to be a different response. And that response, at least for the nonviolent mentally ill, needs to be diversion around jail. There is a better way, and it's in practice right now in Harris County. And so by working across the aisle with Judge Emmett and the Commissioner's Court and all of our law enforcement agencies, we now, at the DA's office with law enforcement, divert all nonviolent, low-level, mentally ill offenders to the Ed Emmett Center or another psychiatric facility if that's more appropriate. And we've seen incredible results regarding recidivism, indicating both that we're doing better substantively, and certainly in terms of the use of our resources, we're saving a lot of money. The real issue for me is how do we do it humanely and safely, meaning how do we protect the public while handling our mentally ill criminal population humanely. And in addition to diversion, testing people's competency quickly, whether they're in custody or without, has to be a priority. We cannot let these cases languish because they represent people, and people in a worst possible setting for mental health improvement. So we've focused on those two areas, diversion and competency, and getting competency to tests and evaluations to people both in and out of custody faster. To do this, we've had to work with our judiciary and help raise their awareness too. And the main, I think, thrust for the audience tonight is that the district attorney has a powerful voice in how we are going to handle mental illness locally. And in that effort, I'm lending my voice and energy to treating mental illness as a public health concern, coming back to the first place that we started with my administration when it comes to our interaction with your world. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much. Now, can I ask Mary Nan if you'd like to put forth a comment? I do have some questions, but hearing from you both is so important to us tonight. So I thank you.
Absolutely.
Well,
would you like me to go ahead?
You bet. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank y'all for having me here tonight. I'm Mary Nan Huffman, and I'm running for Harris County District Attorney because public safety should be the one thing that the government provides for its people. And the people deserve a DA who will be fair to all, seek justice and evidence-based investigations. And the people of Harris County, and especially the ones involved in the criminal justice system, we know that there are varying needs. We know that mental illness is a tremendous problem in the criminal justice system. And like, Johnny Teague said, there has to be a better way to handle mental illness other than the criminal justice system. In a perfect world, we would address some of those issues before we see people in the criminal justice system. I was a prosecutor for almost 10 years in Montgomery County. When I left the DA's office, I was the chief of child exploitation, internet crimes against children, child human trafficking was kind of my specialty. Currently, I'm an attorney for the Houston Police Officers Union, and I work with law enforcement. I go out on scenes, and I have encountered some of these people that are mentally ill and do need treatment, and incarceration may not be the right fix for them. So I'm the experienced prosecutor who will make, first of all, public safety job one for our families and our neighborhoods, while being sensitive to our mental health issues. We talk a lot about the offenders in the criminal justice system, but it's equally as important to talk about the victims that may be suffering from mental health issues as well. We know that a victim that may suffer from some of these types of illnesses, they are the perfect victim. They may be a target because they are vulnerable. They may not have the support system that they need in the family. And so they could be taken advantage over, more easily. I think that we need to pay just as much attention to the victims that are suffering from mental health issues, just like we do the offenders, to really have a fair system.
Thank you. And that it's quite to the point that people with mental illness are more likely to be criminalized than they are to be in crime. So thank you very much for that set of perspectives. Can I ask two questions? I think we're actually doing pretty well here on the issue of the on the issue of people get diverted from justice system involvement. I know that in the current in the current district attorney's office, there is a mental health division. And I would wonder for both of you, what plans you might have to either continue that, were you to win, Mary Nan, or what plans you have to make that unit more effective. This is our intersection. NAMI's intersection with the district attorney's office is frequently through the mental health division, and so I'd like to hear some of your thoughts more about that from both of you, please.
All right, well, I'll go first, Mary Ann. So upon taking office, I restructured the office and changed our mental health division to a bureau. And I named Denise Onken, one of the senior, most experienced lawyers in our office, a very well-known prosecutor and a hard fighting for crime victim type prosecutor, really has a tough reputation. And she was in charge of the division. We made her bureau chief, and we lent the gravitas of the Harris County DA's office to the idea, again, this value that mental illness is a public health concern. So why increase the gravitas of a division to a bureau? Well, because I wanted the public to know that with a quarter to half of our criminal offender population being impacted by mental illness, that we had the capacity and the skill and the expertise to meet that need in prosecution. So when it came to violent offenders, I knew Denise Onken would know how to handle it. But no one was diverting the mentally ill in the state. And having watched her take child abuse from a backroom horrible crime that wasn't hardly considered a crime by our system into an entire practice area, I knew that Denise could develop what is an emerging practice area. And that is the area of mental health and mental illness in the justice system. And it's not the same type of prosecution.
Are there things that you would like that? Are there things that you would like to grow stronger at in that bureau now?
Yes, I need more people because we have more ill people. I would like to see more de-escalation training of the police, and I know that NAMI does that. But I will tell you that by putting the person in charge who I did, and by increasing the division to a bureau, it allowed us to work with law enforcement in a way that changed their culture when dealing with nonviolent mentally ill people. And that culture, instead of just putting them in jail over and over, now is to divert them. And we've diverted more than 3,000 people in the first 2 years since we opened the doors at the Ed Emmett Diversion Center. So put pen to paper and we can show that the recidivism rate there, not repeatedly going back to jail like they were before, not getting better, going back out, committing the same types of nuisance actions that are offenses. And we see a population getting better. That program has even hired some of the people who came through it. So it's important to pick the leaders who you need to carry out big ideas like mental illness being a public health concern. It sounds easy, but as a prosecutor, that's not what prosecutors generally say. So I put somebody in charge who I knew could handle it, and she has. And what's happening is the rest of the state now is looking at the way we're handling mental health instead of us searching around trying to figure out how others do it. And that's the commitment that NAMI and our population has from my administration.
Thank you. Mary Ann, this is the intersection point for the National Alliance on Mental Illness with respect to our members and our family members. And so I am wondering if you are to be our new DA, what would be your structural the response to the section of mental health cases that would come your way? We've heard how Kim responded to that, and it's just of central importance to us that focus be available. And so I'm wondering about how you've thought about it. And thank you for your work on on child endangerment. And thank you for your work on, you know who the people are that we need protection for. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Well, I believe in diversion programs, and I think that they are a great thing. But I think we need to evaluate the diversion programs and see how they can be improved. When we're looking at this diversion program with the Ed Emmett Center, you know, Kim Ogg says that we've diverted thousands of people. But the problem is with that particular place, that if a police officer takes them there to that center and they don't want treatment, that they're not committed, they can voluntarily leave, and they're not necessarily getting treatment. So talking to law enforcement, there's a lot of frustration out there because the DA's office won't accept them. They take them to the center. Now, the people that want to go and get treatment, I think that is a good thing. That's happening. But if they turn around and walk out the door, then there's really no alternative for law enforcement. And police officers are frustrated. So I think that diversion programs are good, but we want to make sure they're actually helping people, not just appear that they're helping people. You know, we can say 3,000 were diverted, but not that many people walked through that treatment facility door. A lot of them left. And we need real solutions to some of these problems. I think that separate from the diversion programs, we need to continue training for law enforcement, for crisis intervention, the de-escalation techniques. And then we need to work with other agencies and NGOs to make sure that we are using our resources and everything that is available to us to help combat this problem.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. Thank you. I would say that the NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, has been very forthcoming on saying that once you divert, you must divert. It's best if you can divert to services, classes, recovery classes. These are things that the National Alliance on Mental Illness offers, and we want to be part of that diversion program, accessing services. Back to that first priority that we had for access, because right now we don't have enough community mental health resources to meet the need, and to do it earlier, to do it earlier in mind rather than waiting for a trespass or a minor to make that occasion. Gee, I had one more question, and that's we're experiencing in this COVID times that the level of anxiety and depression is increasing. And one of the ways that people show that is in civil discord. I am wondering if either of you or both of you are expecting that there will be a flood of mental health cases coming your way as comes anyway, any time during a time of depression or during a times of social discord. I'm thinking about the racial crisis that we are in. I'm thinking about the number of people that are being evicted. I'm thinking about the number of people that are jobless. And I just am hopeful that I could hear from you two about the kind of the civic climate that you're going to be navigating through. I think, how long are your terms?
4 years.
3 years, okay.
4 years.
4 years, all right, 4 more years. 4 years. But can you, it's just something that we're feeling is beyond an individual's identification with a diagnosis. But it's almost like the society right now is in a time of anxiety and depression, and that bumps up against criminal justice. So I was just hoping that you'd give us some wisdom on this, and maybe Elizabeth Hernandez, maybe you wanted to check in on this one as well. Thank you for being so nice and waiting with us.
Mary Nan, do you want to take that?
Sure, absolutely. I think that we are already starting to see the effects of the mental health issues that have come along with COVID. I've had 2 different moms reach out to me since COVID started that had 13-year-old boys that both committed suicide because of this. I think that we see it with children taking on the stress of their parents, seeing that, you hear people say, well, this is like summer, and when you're doing this virtual learning at school, this is a big long summer break, and it's really not. I hate it when people say things like that because families are stressed. Children take on that stress as well. They need to be with their friends. We've seen the domestic violence cases increase because people are quarantined together. We are seeing people getting evicted because they can't keep their jobs. And I think it is a big problem to pay attention to and something to be sensitive about. And not just with the racial issues, it's coming from all sides, like we talked about with kids and relationships. And then we've also seen a lot of drug violence too, because the same things that move people like planes and buses and cars also move drugs. And right now, Harris County doesn't have the supply that it usually has coming through. And people are getting angry about that. So we've seen shootings, we've seen violence because of that. And it is definitely a problem and something that the DA's office is going to have to address and see that coming. I think we're also on top of mental illness. We're going to see a lot of kids once school starts back again for HISD. I think we're going to see a lot more outcries of sexual abuse. You have these kids that have been potentially trapped with their perpetrators since March, stuck in a home. They have no one to outcry to. They're not seeing their teachers.
So is that kind of, I'm hearing that's in your awareness, and we're hoping that it is in your transition planning, or
Absolutely.
So thank you. And Kim and Elizabeth, did you want to speak to this? We're winding down on our available time, but I just think it's so important to locate where we are right now, what it is we are dealing with.
So I'm just
Elizabeth?
going to make a quick comment. So my background is accounting. A big part, and one of the first things I want to prioritize when I go to Congress is the tax code, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that were passed by the current administration in 2018 and authored by Kevin Brady. At the end of the day, everything costs money. I can sit here and say, I want to fight for legislation to fund, preventive programs and, more counselors in schools so that our kids have access to it. We obviously know, as Mary just stated, depression and anxiety is a huge thing that is increasing right now with COVID for all the reasons that she talked about. But if we don't have the resources to fund all these programs, we can hope and wish all we want, but it costs money. And so I just want to say that is going to be a priority for me when I get to Congress. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that was passed in 2018 primarily cut the taxes for the wealthy, the richest in America. And, they're not paying their fair share. We need to roll those tax cuts back for the wealthy so that we can fund all of these programs that absolutely 100% need the attention. I mean, because if we're not happy and healthy, you're not productive at work, you're not productive at school, and it's not good for anybody. It's not good for businesses, it's not good for families.
Great. So could I really take the point that that you'd be advocating for a kind of a rediversion of money to be a real response to this, to our current state. Kim, can I ask you this, to give comment?
Sure. Yes, let me close it out. First of all, Ms. Hernandez's focus on funding is right. Mental illness and our treatment and our entire response has, and that is why so many mentally ill people, absent treatment, end up intersecting negatively with law enforcement. This does not have to be. And it is simply a matter of redirecting funding, and we have to have leaders with the political will who care enough about truly treating the origins of these problems. And mental health is a major, it plays out in a lot of different ways, but it is an original problem that has just never been it has not been dealt with well in my professional lifetime. And so we have the criminal justice system, the worst possible place, and police, the wrong individuals, not really trained, now more than before, but not really trained to deal with this type of issue. And we have a society that is we're angry with one another right now. I sense that people are angry politically. I sense that they're divided in almost every way. I've not seen the country like this since I was a child, and it was divided this way over other issues. And so the crisis that we feel from COVID and that locally started, at least in my administration with Harvey, these are external crises that do increase mental illness, which does increase bad things happening to one another. And we're back where we started, mental health in the criminal justice system. So she's right. We've started at the beginning with funding and redirecting it. And how we move forward in the justice system, again, is, I think, using the power of the district attorney's position to work with NAMI, to work with the police, and to support legislative changes in funding. And
Thank you. That's the intersection of at the national level and at the state level. This concludes 2 weeks of candidate review, and we have heard from the Texas State Legislature, the Texas Senate, now from the Congress in the U.S. and from the District Attorney's Office, and we absolutely appreciate the perspective, and the alignment really is one of the things that I have observed in this time of 2 weeks is that this is not really a partisan issue. That mental health and what we must do seems to me to be apparent to every candidate that we've spoken with, and I sure appreciate that. I wanted to close the evening with some comments from Jane, our president of our board, who has served us well, and she's been term limited, by the way. So you may see. Anyway, Jane, thank you. Thank you for helping us close up the evening.
There we go. So first of all, I want to say thank you to our wonderful candidates. It's great to hear what you have been doing and what you plan to do. And I also want to thank our audience that has been attending via Zoom or via our Facebook streaming. Also want to thank WellPath, the organization that Brenda works for and that has really supported the development of these forums. And really thank you, Brenda, also.
Jane, I wanted to tell you that with the count on, so nobody worry if the count on Zoom is low. The count on Facebook, which we'll get tomorrow, has been averaging about 300 people. Mm-hmm. So this is a wider audience that are in the in the than you might think if you're just watching Zoom. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's been great to do the Facebook streaming because many people prefer that approach. So that's wonderful. So the last thing I want to say is that we want to tell you a little bit about our Mask Up fundraiser. We are going to be offering a set of 4 masks with our with NAMI mask. Is it Masks for Hope? Neil, do you want to say more?
No, I want to show you. Here is. Let's see. We're going to get Neil on the.
I see you, Neil.
Okay. And I'll get real close.
Okay.
And you too can have a NAMI mask for hope. And candidates, we're sending one to you anyway. So thank you.
Thank you.
Again tonight to everyone. We really appreciate it. We really do. It has been wonderful. Thanks so much and have a good evening. Stay safe.
To the minute. That's great. That's great. Any of you know that October 10th is National Mental Health Day around the nation. We are going to have a day-long events. Tune into Facebook and to our website and see what we put together for that day. It's a good chance to drop in, you candidates, and have a chance to join us in our National Day of Hope. So we'll be sending that to you as well. And I think it's 8:04. So we wish you good night. We see Sheila Jackson Lee still working at her office. Look at that. She hasn't moved in about 25 minutes. What focus? I think that's amazing. It's cool. That's wonderful. We love you and we thank you. Good night. Good night to you.
Good night.
There she is. See, she's working. Ms. Aditi, may I ask you to unmute yourself?
Hi.
Actually, everybody unmute, and we'll share a tiny bit of time here. Just no.
Hey, Brenda.
Yay. So I
All
guess
right,
we went
friends.
to the big guns tonight, huh?
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, great.
yeah, did we have any fun tonight? Let me see if I can. I think I can take everybody off. I think I have that power, but manage participants. I'm the host. And doesn't it say I can take everybody off of mute? Okay. Comments. This is like that green room at the end of a time where you spin what happened. But Aditi, you're the only one off of speak, so speak.
Oh, what to say? It's hard to get people to be specific about how they contrast with who they're running against.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also think it's hard, to make the decision. Do you try to generate a dialogue that can reach a new place of realizing this is a bipartisan issue? Or do you just try to call out people whose policy platforms completely go against whatever personal story they may have just shared. I don't know, it's a hard decision to make. Do you try to get to unity around an issue that should be bipartisan or not?
Yeah.
So those are things I'm thinking after listening.
How about you, Leslie? Would you?
Oh, hold on. I thought, can you hold on? I thought Kim Ogg was really good. I was very impressed with Sheila Jackson Lee.
Hey, what?
Can you hear me? Okay.
I'll invite you.
The woman from Elizabeth Hernandez sounded good. It's just, great. The Woodlands and District 8. I mean, Brady has that tied up. Montgomery County is so red. I'll vote for her, just, try to have, someone has to run against Brady at some point. She was very brave to do it. Just with like Brady, how he, talks about mental health and then votes against all the policies.
Yeah.
And to try to meet him in not want to wring his little neck is hard, but Brenda and I have done so well. We haven't done that yet. But I thought it was really good tonight. And I liked, I liked how Jane put the note in about how well the jail diversion is working. I thought that was very good.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, it was telling that it's hard for me as the moderator or commenter to call people on what it is they don't know, or just to know more about the that are going on. That's been one thing for me. It was over this 2 weeks has been that there is sort of a gap between how we are helping to educate the public officials, and so
I thought you did well. I mean, you did real gentle kind of movement about mental health without, pointing it right out. So I thought you did a really good job. I understand there's maybe a moderating job next week. It's a little bit larger platform if you'd like to do that.
Okay, great.
The national between Don and Biden.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, we'll get there. And I wanted to tell you a story while we're all talking here. Brenda was trying to get back on, and I sent her an invite, and we'll see if she gets back on. But
now I can hear you.
But can you? But anyway, this is a story here that in 1970, I was 19 years old, and I was a poll watcher for the Department of Justice in Alabama, and the race was between the current governor, whose name is Albert Brewer, and the other person was George Wallace, so what my job was to go around to rural Alabama north, just along the Tennessee River, and I had the phone number. There are no cell phones at the time, right? But I had the phone number for the Department of Justice, and I was to alert them to any voter irregularities. So I had very long hair at the time, and I certainly wasn't a familiar territory with any of the with any of the people that I was coming in to visit, right? So, and these were small towns, and it was immediately apparent. So, while I was getting out of my car, I got out of my car and I was in the lines, and I was seeing the other poll watchers go up and down the lines. And hi, Brenda.
Okay. Did y'all finish up?
Well, I'm telling stories. Why don't you just listen here and
Okay.
I sent you an invite, but
Yeah, no, it won't let me back in because it said it's over.
oh man, well, Neil keeps talking. Anyway, I'm telling this story about my 1970 version of poll watching in Alabama, and so I was going up and down the lines, and at the same time there were other people going up and down the line saying, you know that we can see who you vote for.
Oh my God.
And we have cameras and we have holes in the roof, and we can see who you are voting for. And they said that primarily to the people who are of color, to the people who are Black.
Right.
And so I was noticing this. I also I heard those words, and that they were, "We will know who you voted for," was the quote. So I went to the phone booth to register my call for justice to the Justice Department, and I was interrupted in the phone booth by a police officer with his gun drawn, and I was told to get back into my car, and and then I was told to roll down the window, and with the gun to me, the police officer said, "You're getting out of town right now." And
wow.
So I was so in my moment of that, then I also had heard from the people who were gathered there that there were busloads of people coming across the Tennessee River from Tennessee to vote, and I didn't observe it, but I heard it. That was another thing that I was going to talk about. And so when I heard today that the Trump campaign was in the process of hiring almost 50,000 people, paying people money to go and be poll watchers, this was the experience that it reminded me of. And
The question is whether or not anybody is going to go to try and get that stopped, going into court to try and get that stopped.
yeah,
That's intimidation.
no, it is of concern. And so anyway, that's been on my mind today, and I am sharing it. But I think the session tonight was congenial, fine, not very specific. I was I noticed that that Nan, the DA candidate, was quite forward about saying that she was she had represented the police. The police are concerned about the diversion program, and they're also seeing as that they're frustrated, but I don't think they're looking at the same numbers that well they are. We have decent relations with the with the police as well, and I know they're frustrated about the 20% who do recidivize.
Yeah, but you can't ever have 100%.
That's right.
No
And
matter how good the program is.
that's
And where Kim Ogg was correct is that without the other money to
Yeah.
do, and I think you mentioned this too, without the other money to do the support,
that's right.
it's never going to go at anywhere near 100% because we just don't have everything that you need to keep people out.
Yeah, so we have begun, we hand out tickets to our support groups and our classes in the jail diversion building, right? That's I think a first in the nation, so to connect to services, but they don't really have any of the step down or services. They don't have enough of the step down service, like
You don't have the housing.
and the housing.
Housing's the first thing. You don't have housing.
So
That's
yeah.
the first thing. You can't do it without good housing. So,
Yeah, so they noticed that the people who have the, you know, I've read the report from the from the Harris Center on jail diversion, their final report, and we are talking about with them, with Wayne Young.
hold on for me just a minute.
Sure, we're talking with Wayne Young about attending a party to celebrate these great results that have come out, and the NAMI folks who have been so diligent over the last year and a half to go to the diversion center and make a difference there. So I think that's something for NAMI to be proud about. So.
Oh yeah. But,
So.
You know, it worries me though when I'm listening to Nan Huffman. She sounded an awful lot like Law and Order, and
Yeah.
you know, and the fact that she worked under Brett Ligon, the DA in Montgomery County.
Right.
I mean, if our folks don't know him, he is the one that said he took the mental health court, did away with the social workers, put them under probation and parole because there was not enough on that, and they just haul them right back into jail and leave them.
That's it. Yeah.
So they've got a different way of looking at it. They do not believe that the issue is mental illness.
Yeah, and she said that. I mean,
so they're really hard nosed. That's why I wanted.
And then here's Aditi saying something here. Yeah.
I was just going to add, Brenda, that she didn't mince words. She mentioned Law and Order 3 times. I felt like she tried to emphasize it. And when she was starting out, when she was talking about how it's the police themselves that are saying diversion doesn't work without citing any evidence aside from anecdotal stuff to say not everyone stays. But the time that I also heard it was when she was like, well, we talk about the perpetrators who are mentally ill, but what about their victims? Well,
yeah.
Most of their victims are family members, and most of the people who are affected are within their orbit already, and they want
exactly
and more. But she didn't have any understanding of, even from that order frame, even from that safety wellness frame, who is it that's really hurting? It's everyone in their orbit already who wants these options and more.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. That's exactly it. So,
well,
you know, well, I hope people heard that, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Great. Well, I did get the numbers as I shared from, I was lifted when Jessica shared with me how many people are on Facebook Live. I've been saddened by how fewer people are on Zoom, and I've been hoping the whole screen would fill up. But when she told me that our average, we had the first night was 600.
Wow.
And we've been averaging about 300. And so I think that when we write the story about these sessions, then the impact that it has as possible, that we can also tell the candidates in the future, and we might get more people who are coming to say, this is a venue which you should make time for, and that we could grow on. So I'm going to say goodnight to everybody.
Yeah, well, thank you, Neil, for doing that.
Yeah. Well, all of us are here. Diane Egelhardt, are you still with us tonight?
You might have walked out of the room.
And Helen, are you with us? Okay.
Yes,
all
I
right.
am.
You are, Helen.
Hey, yes, I'm here.
You've been very well behaved. You didn't interrupt even one time.
I came on late. I'm sorry.
No problem at all. No, I was making a joke here about the previous debate where people were interrupting each other all the time at the presidential level. And so I was saying that, gee, gosh, Helen, you didn't, how did the evening serve you, ma'am?
It was really informative what I'm hearing. You know, I'm battling my son with mental issues, and
yes,
he's presently at the Harris County Psychiatric Center.
Yes. Well, I hope you will call our warm line, and and we are available from 9 to 5 Monday through Friday for a person to hear and be heard, sometimes some advice on what next steps are, sometimes a very good description of the steps that are navigating the going forward, and some resources and referrals. So I'm going to give you the phone number for that. And
okay.
And the phone number for that is 713-970-4483. You give us a call tomorrow, and we could try to be of help and certainly share our care for you. Okay.
Yes, I've been speaking with. I have spoken with Brenda a couple of times already.
Very good.
Yes.
Boy, there's hardly any better than that.
Correct.
Sure.
Yes, she's been a great help.
All right.
And I appreciate you, Brenda.
Good. Thank you. And Brenda has signed off on my phone,
okay,
where she has been there. And then I wonder, Diane, are you still with us? Because if not, I'm going to put on my jammies.
Okay. Well, good night.
All right.
Thank you so much.
And I'm not going to do it on Zoom.